Hi and good day. Welcome to the Yacht Show. This is Spencer Brown of Brown's International. As always, we're very keen to bring the peripheries of yacht ownership into our subject matter on this podcast. So I'm really delighted today that we're going to be covering off the mythical world of family offices. And I'm super, super pumped to introduce Victoria Blackburn of JTC. Welcome, Victoria.
Oh, hi. Thanks for having me. That was a really nice intro.
No, cool. Well, and obviously we're trans-European at the moment, so that's why we're doing our virtual podcast rather than sitting on a lovely boat in sunny Palma, which we would normally do. So I'm
Wouldn't
really
that be
sorry we're not doing
nice?
that. Dreamy, eh?
Yeah.
Great stuff, great stuff. So if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, Victoria, and just letting us know a little bit more.
Sure. Well, I'm Victoria Blackburn and I work for JTC Group. I'm in the private office section at JTC Group. I'm a director and I'm based in Luxembourg, but that's more for family reasons than my role. So I tend to work with lots of the different offices at JTC.
Great stuff, great stuff. And for the audience, in a nutshell, really, can you tell us what a family office like JTC do?
Yeah, sure. So, JTC itself was originally a trust and company administration business. We grew out of that and then developed an institutional side, which did funds and corporate services. And now we do lots of things like escrow, tax compliance, like so many different things. I can't even list it. So it's a firm built for entrepreneurs, basically. And the private office is what other people might term the family office section. So we're a small team, multi-jurisdictional, but we basically act a bit like the glue internally and externally. It's very relationship based. So our job is essentially acting as consultants, but researchers in sort of four main areas. And that encompasses family governance, legacy planning, next generation education, luxury assets, which is what we're here for today,
Yep.
and also relocation services, because that's been a big growth area when people moving about the globe a lot more. And we basically bring together different areas of expertise within our team, but also externally, because we say we're expert generalists and we sort of plug the gaps for these families, help them get the right people, the right advice at the right time for them.
Awesome. And you've underlined very much there the kind of, how can I say, the international side of things, and also the kind of relevance to ultra high net worth individuals and the assistance they need, and how they can delegate things. And what would you say is special about JTC?
I'd say actually one of the things I hear all the time is that it's filled with people that are very good at what they do, but they're also really nice. And people say what a nice firm it is to work for. Is it's very encouraging, it's very entrepreneurial, and that comes from our founder. We're all actually owners of the business as well. And
Oh, that's
currently
really
we are
interesting. Yeah.
listed. Yeah, it's quite different. So we are listed on the stock exchange, soon to delist actually. But this is one of the great things about the firm, because we've been through so many different sort of iterations, and we've grown organically, but also inorganically. We sort of purchased different companies, brought them into the JTC group. We've listed, so we know that process, and we've had private equity before, and we're now about to have another private equity stint. So when we talk to clients about these things, we actually know it because we've lived and breathed it,
Mm.
and our ownership as well, in terms of all members of staff have various shares in the business, and that will be determined by how long you've worked, how senior you are, etc. But every single person, from the person that does filing all the way through to the CEO, owns a stake in the business. And I think that makes people work differently. It makes them certainly do their expenses differently, because it's coming out of your pocket at the end of the day, and you're doing the best that you can every single day.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So the feeling of community is so much more there than another corporate body, so to speak. It's human, and it's humans who are entrepreneurial, who are, as you said, nice, enjoying working for a common goal to please ultra high net worth individuals in their business. So fantastic, yeah. I can see. And size wise, in the world of family offices, where does JTC sit?
So, as a business overall, we've now, and we grew from like 5 people, sort of, I think that's over, I'll get it wrong, but I think it's something like 37 years ago.
Yeah.
And I came in at one stage, I've been in and out of the business over a period of about 25 years. So I came in and there were 60 people. I went back out, came back in again. We've now got over 2,300 and we've
Wow.
got 38 offices globally. We do span completely east to west as well.
Absolutely
So,
awesome. What great, yeah, brilliant coverage.
yeah, and I say in terms of sort of family office, like as I said, our section isn't particularly big. We've got like 6 sort of full-time senior staff, and that's the thing. Actually, our section itself is quite sort of flat in terms of hierarchy because we're all senior specialists, because we've been in different parts of the business or other businesses like tax, legal, fiduciary, etc. And we bring those skills together because I think, as our CEO said to us one day, kind of need a few grey hairs for some of these ultra high net worths to actually
Yeah.
trust you. I'd
Yes.
say, I'm looking. I haven't got any yet.
I
But
was going to say you're lacking. I'm carrying the obviously the burden here, but you're lacking.
yeah, it's a clever hairdresser. That's what it is.
I must get a number. So and obviously that's an amazing organisation, and your personal role within that organisation, how does that work?
So for me, I'm kind of a jack of all trades, really, because I do have a fiduciary background, but also an education background as well. So at the moment, I'm trying to develop and sort of head up the next generation consultancy section of the private office. And that's really exciting for us because we've just launched a partnership with SDA Bocconi School of Management, which is part of Bocconi University in Milan. And that's great because we're looking at legacy planning and all opportunities for next gen. So we can do lots of bespoke courses, and it's given us something very different. So we've got that kind of academic rigor coming along with our practical side, and it's a really nice relationship. And also I'm involved in the luxury assets team as well. My areas of specialism tend to be super yachts and private aircraft, and my colleagues do art and wine and cars and things. It's not quite my thing. I mean, I'd go in and help, but yes, the boats and the planes are more my thing.
Good stuff. Good to see some load sharing going on there with when the wine and the art comes in as well. Brilliant.
Exactly. I can drink it, but
and you mentioned to me the structure's changed of JTC earlier. How does that benefit someone who's considering using a family office?
I think firstly, it goes back to what I said before, is that we've been through lots of different life cycles. So again, you've got that experience, that practical hands-on experience that you can talk to clients about. You're not just talking about theory. We can tell clients really what we did wrong and what we did right. And
Yeah.
I think it's equally important to share both. And the other thing is, I do remember the decision way back was quite critical. Should we stay local or should we go global? Obviously, the decision was to go global because I think staying local, whilst it's lovely, actually now you'd find that you would have been consumed by somebody else.
Yeah.
But what that's done is it's given us great breadth. And I think especially now, really much, I was seeing it a bit before, even last year, but honestly, 2026, it has just exploded in terms of people being multi-jurisdictional, needing help everywhere, and especially in these type of families that they might have started off doing some things themselves, and then they've got busy in their business and there's personal stuff they're still doing themselves. And now it's become so big and there's so many different regulations that they're like, I just need somebody to help. And I think that's where we can, because we've got people in all these different locations and they've got all these different contacts. And we can say, right, well, we know what you should do in the Middle East and we know what you should do in Europe. And here's what we do in America. And let's pull it together for
Yeah.
you. And I
Yeah.
think that brings people peace of mind. So I think that's how we can really help them now.
Yeah, I can see that, and the world has become so much more transient, hasn't it? The kind of the crossing of boundaries is so much easier, but there are still those rules that have to be identified, recognised, and abided by. So, yeah, I can see for an ultra high net worth individual, the guidance the family office can give is essential. And it brings me on to the example the mutual success we had together with a client, a wonderful client.
Yeah.
He changed jurisdictions very quickly, and has had the experience of what you're able to offer for a client. And it actually brings me back to yachting, and that kind of that kind of transitional situation with a yacht is very, very frequent. If a ultra high net worth individual, a client of yours, says to you, right, okay, I'm going to get into yachting, what's the process for you to help them to get into yachting, and how does that work?
Oh, my immediate reaction was like, whoa, okay, why? um,
Yeah,
and it's like to do myself out of a job here, but I was, I try and do the thing that's right for the client. And with so many of these things, whether it's yachting, aircraft, family governance, just pause. Think, why do I want to do this? Um, and who's it going to involve? That's the other thing.
yeah,
Um, think about it. What experience do you have? And please don't just listen to your friend who has this structure and it works and that's great. That's brilliant. But they're Belgian and you're British and you're using a boat in a totally different place. That is I hear it all the time.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
it's frustrating, but if you can get to them and just say, right, we can do this, we can help you, but let's think why. And actually, what experience have you got? And it could be they've got loads of experiences you've never owned before. Fine, that's okay. But we're going to have to talk about how ownership's going to work.
yeah,
Because,
exactly.
yeah. Or it might be, I don't know, I just really fancy it. I've had this liquidity event. I want to do this, 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 and this. Okay, great. So how about you charter first, because that way you're going to have a bit of an experience of it. You can try different boats, you can try different locations and different types of use. You just want to cruise around the Med, that's fine. You want to stop off and go to the nice restaurants, great. But actually, maybe you like explorer cruising. Now, we don't want you to go and buy the boat that's just for the Med and then go, actually, I'm really bored of this.
Yeah,
And actually, I want to go off here. And it's okay. We can, if you do, we can do it and we can manage it. But it's not a quick process to sell a yacht, to buy a yacht. And I think people don't realize that because, again, in terms of cars, you might have a long wait list for a particular car. There's nothing like a yacht. And you can get rid of that car sort of, I'd say, fairly
just like that.
easily.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
a yacht.
exactly. Yeah,
You can't with a yacht. It's a much
yeah.
longer process, a lot more money, a lot more things you've got to do. And I just don't think even experienced people, if they've never owned, realize that.
Yeah.
And even when they have owned, it depends how their experience has been as well, what they've been told. And I think the advice over time has changed. And it's a bit of a murky world, I would say. You've got to get the right people together who really have your best interests at heart.
That's exactly what I was going to come to. The kind of the grouping around the yacht is so important, isn't it? The right advice at the right time, like you've just said, someone who can give them actually some honest, real information backed up with fact, and to employ that cast of characters around the yacht is very important.
Yeah, I mean, we often when we send out documentation, like a proposal or presentation to people, we'll list at the back a number of the people that you're going to have to involve in this process. And we'll say, this is not even the full list. And already we're on 25 different people.
Yeah.
And it's like, they are all vital. They'll all have different roles. They'll have different timeframes that they're in. They'll have different costs. but you need these people if you're going to do it properly. And I think that's the thing in terms of when we talked about it earlier, in terms of jurisdiction hopping as well. It has become easier, but it's become harder because there's more rules to trip up
Yeah.
on. And
Yeah.
that's the same with yachting. I would say it was fairly rule free before, and the rules that they were, like, people would bend them. And now it's becoming tighter and tighter. And I think people just weren't aware of it before.
Yeah.
So they need a good navigator, essentially.
Yeah. And that's where you come in as that kind of referee working for the ultra high Mr. X, the ultra high net worth individual whose line is, I want a boat. You fill in the facts, you fill in the details, you make the criteria work and resonate with him and make him understand, or her, sorry. And that's a great piece of the jigsaw that works for them. I'm really sure. And in a way, what do you see as the requirements of today's wealthy yacht buyer?
I think they've changed, actually. I think, well, it depends where they're from, and how old they are, gender, all sorts, culture, experience. Um, but I would say it's actually quite interesting. I was talking at the Super Yacht Forum about this last year. And again, interesting how you said "and her," because there are more female owners now. There's not as many, but
Definitely,
there's all
definitely.
sorts of reasons.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's just a role over time that's changed. But I would say quite often that even if it is technically a male UBO, quite often there is a female behind there going, I want this and I want that and I don't like this. So I think today I see a lot of people who are fairly new to yachting, and they actually, in some ways, we can class them as next gen.
yeah,
They're not necessarily really young people. They, maybe 30s, 40s, whatever, and they get into it. And actually, because they've had a slightly different road to wealth, so they may be, for example, tech entrepreneurs, could be influencers. Well, these people have made money very, very quickly. They've come from different backgrounds to the
yeah,
previous sort of yachting group, and therefore they want slightly different designs. They do like having the crew and the chefs and everybody doing that stuff, but sometimes they don't want it like all the time. So they're
mm,
like, actually, I like to make my own coffee or my own sandwich.
yeah,
And again, that's where the female comes in with the younger family. I just want to make my kids a sandwich and I don't want to go downstairs. I don't want to disturb the crew because that bit's in their area. So I've talked to surveyors about having like a little coffee machine put here, and just how the kitchen set up can be, I say the galley, sorry, I used the wrong term, but little subtle nuances. I've had other things where people have had like pizza ovens on, towards the back on the relaxing area,
yeah,
and they can get involved a lot more. But at other times they think, no, I would like you to come and do the dinner. That's fine. But it's that variety. And I think that alters the flow, and it also alters your relationship with the crew and the type of crew that you're going to have as well.
yeah. Indeed, it does. Yeah, yeah. And you're picking a really good point there, actually, which is something we at Browns really focus on, is that personal usage and explanation and understanding that explanation to get the right eventual result for the client. So if the client is very personable and wants a personal crew, like you've just mentioned, if they're very, how can I say, highbrow, used to having staff at home and they want things a certain way, but a ring of a bell sort of type service, that's another level of service that these clients can require. So yeah, really, really interesting that you're picking on that common theme of listening and thinking about what the client really wants, and as a result from their desire. Obviously, there's two kind of major ownership systems, personal and private use, or charter use. What are your thoughts, opinions, and recommendations to anyone listening about those?
Um, It's difficult. I mean, the easiest way, a lot of things I always bring back actually to house ownership,
Hmm.
because people can generally understand that straight off and
Yeah,
say, right, so you've bought a holiday villa or an apartment somewhere. How do you feel about somebody else being in there?
yeah, sleeping in your
And
bed.
Sleeping in your bed. That's
Yep.
the first gauge. And if
Yep.
it's like, no way, you say, okay, fine. So in which case we're going to have to do private. But understand in your private use, I mean, at the moment I'll talk about in the Mediterranean, for example, a smaller super yacht, a 33 meter, you could be looking at costs of $1 million plus a year. That's if nothing goes wrong. So, and again, you are putting an object into salty water.
An alien environment.
Shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So invariably things go wrong, or there's lots of maintenance that needs to go on, even on a brand new one. We see how quickly cars deteriorate. The best will in the world, you're going to need to do work. And I think people find that really difficult. It's like, I bought a brand new thing. Why do I need to do winter works? I'm like, well, you need to do them to maintain your asset. So if you can wear that cost, great. And you can have a structure that works for you. Your structure's going to cost you money as well, and you should have it from a liability perspective. But you've got all these other costs, insurance, etc. And let's not forget that on private use, if you want to take, have your tax break, then you're going to have to move that yacht out every 18 months. And God forbid you forget, because they will come for you, or you put it into refit and someone forgets to stop the clock. Now, we had that on a case. We were brought in to help a family because the yacht had been in for works for too long and the clock wasn't stopped. Now, we worked really hard on a project to help them with that, and we saved them €2 million.
Yeah, fantastic.
But, you have to think of those things. If you then say, oh, do you know what? I can't. That's just too much every year for me to feel comfortable, and that's on a small yacht. So, and you say, okay, well, you're going to charter, but when you charter your own boat, number one, you have to pay for it. Now that often gets people.
I know.
You may not pay quite the same rate, but you have to do it because it is a commercial vehicle. And again, if you mess that up, you are going to be in hot water. You're going to have to pay additional tax, etc. But again, you're going to need a slightly different crew. You're going to need crew that can cope with charter guests and random demands. Your boat's going to go all over the place. The wear and tear is going to be a lot more. You're going to have people on your boat you might not like. I mean, you can say no, but usually you're that removed from it. You need a good charter broker. And they need to work well with your crew and your captain and your yacht manager, because the yacht manager and the charter manager may not be in the same company. And also, you're going to get an income and you are going to get certain tax advantages on your winter works, etc. But you're also going to do a lot more tax compliance for that, or your fiduciary provider is, which is going to cost more in terms of running your structure. So you may, if you are lucky, meet your running costs. I would love it if you make a profit. Sometimes you do, but don't bank on it. And the other thing is that you are going to be tied to a timetable. Not everything has to be booked out. I mean, you can say, I only want to charter it for X amount of weeks a year, and so I want to preserve it. Fine. But all of a sudden you can't say, oh, do you know what, next week I want to go, because you've got someone on it.
Exactly.
And you can cancel it, but it's a brand. And if you cancel, it's a very small world. And if you cancel and you repeatedly cancel, people say, I don't like that boat because I'm not going to book all my time up and get my kids excited and plan all these things, because I know that my friends tried to book that and they cancelled 2 weeks beforehand.
Exactly.
And it happened the year before. And people forget about that.
And also your charter broker starts to become less motivated about that yacht, and the yacht manager starts to so that it results in decay of the system, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the crew, because the crew also, whilst they're getting paid, they rely on those tips as well. That's their extra income. So they're going to get annoyed because you're constantly getting stuff cancelled. But I think charter is great for people that are happy to have other people on their boat. It makes people motivated because their running costs are hopefully met. It takes that edge off it a bit, but it is a lot more complicated, and it just depends. As we say, horses for courses, really. I mean, if it was mine and I could afford it, I'd probably like private, but then also my pocket would start to burn a bit, and then I'd probably do what most clients do and say, "Oh, I want to do commercial now," and you're like, oh my goodness, okay, that's fine, we can do it, but there's difference in design and
Yep.
regulations and
Yep.
everything. So your boat might not actually just be ready. We might have to spend 200,000 refitting
And,
it.
and possibly 2, 3, 4 months out of use
Yeah.
as well, which is costing money.
Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
costing
Yeah.
money. You're not
Yeah.
using it. No one else is
Yeah.
using it. And also your structure may not be
Yep.
fit for
Yep.
purpose for that. But it's all doable. And it is the other way around as well. It's just taking that pause to work it out. And if we need to change direction, we change direction, but being really honest about how long it takes and what we want to achieve at the end of it. I'm not a yes person. I will do the best for my clients, but sometimes the best is saying no, or no, and this is why, but have you thought about doing it this way?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
finding an alternative solution. Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll make it work for them, but it's educating and empowering them to make a decision that they're happy with.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily the right or wrong decision, but it's so that they feel confident that they made that decision with all the knowledge that they could consume.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's all that anyone can ask for in effect. And I ask about kind of personal versus charter. In your experience, is there kind of a crossover between those two? As in, have you seen that happen?
Oh, well, I mean, you've got those. I mean, you've got like the Yachts scheme and things like that. So you
Yep.
can do a sort of a little blend, but again, that comes with restrictions. It's only in certain locations, and I know that quite a lot of people like to use their boats around in Italy, and you can't do that. So people can hear about this sort of hybrid system, great, but it doesn't always work for them because invariably people don't. I say they have blinkers. They have sort of earmuffs, to be honest.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fine. And then it's like, oh no, I want to go here. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
explained you
I
can't.
said to you. Yeah.
I said to you, this is, if we do this, you can't
Yeah.
do that. But obviously I always say that, yes, we can find a solution, but that will be bringing it out of that and putting it into something else. I mean, if a kind of blend would be, I suppose, if you had your charter boat and you just didn't allow it for many weeks charter. I mean, you are obviously, that's still the commercial process, but it's one way of having a bit of both worlds and just really blocking out your time, and not in that, maybe not caring the amount that you make on it. It's like, it's pocket money,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah. 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 And coming back to the kind of the role of JTC and its presence, you did mention JTC is global and therefore can help these global customers in every area. Can you give us some idea of numbers of offices and personnel and that sort of thing again? Just remind us.
Yeah, so I think I forgot to check with my marketing team before we came on. So I said, I've got
It's
to
changed
get
this
it
morning.
right. Should have Googled it. I think now we've got 38
Yeah.
offices. We've got
Brilliant.
quite a lot in America. I know that we've just opened one in Brazil. We had one years ago, but I don't know, changes it now, but that's a new focus area. So we have a lot of South American clients. We have offices in the Caribbean, in Cayman, BVI, Bahamas. I'll have forgotten somewhere and probably offend somebody. But obviously we've got
We
offices.
apologise in advance.
Exactly, I apologise in advance. It's just because I haven't been on a truly global tour yet. So
Oh, there's a subtle hint there.
obviously I'd like to.
Yeah.
But UK, all over Europe, South Africa, and then Middle East. We have an office in Dubai. We're opening again in Abu Dhabi, and then we go to Hong Kong, Singapore. We've got Mauritius as well, to name but a few.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. And all of which are kind of, I can think of yacht pictures, yacht usage, and visiting some yachts in a lot of those places. So it's great to see that not just ultra high net worth individuals, but also yachters who are there are supported in that way. Globally, with regard to your coming back to yachting, we mentioned earlier the list of people, the yachting contacts. How do you go about finding that special list of people who you can rely on, and what are the protocols for that?
So again, that's learned over time.
Yep.
My colleague Nick Arnold that you know quite well.
Yes, yeah,
She spent years in the industry, obviously when she was a tax advisor at PwC, and she's built her network, and then she brought me into the network, and then we also then bring other colleagues in. I have other colleagues, like for example Joel Chin in our Jersey office, and Joel's great because he's got a lot of knowledge, and he's also very practical and hands-on. Like
yes,
he knows things I have no idea about, and it's amazing. But we go to different events and you meet different people, and a lot of it as well is personal recommendation. It's a connection with other people. It's that trust as well.
yes,
I
yeah,
may sometimes have to recommend people that I haven't actually worked with on a project, but I know by talking to the other people that I have that person is really good, and also
yeah,
know who is not
yeah,
really good as
yeah,
well. So it's relationship building, which is what I said in terms of the private office we do anyway with our clients. We do that with intermediaries as well. It has to be somebody that I think we can trust, the client can trust, they have a good track record. And also there's a personality fit. Are they going to get on with the client?
yeah,
Because someone can be absolutely brilliant at their job, but their client and them will just not connect. And it's okay if the client's never going to meet them and have anything to do with it, and it's me. But in some of these things, they're going to meet. Now, that needs to work.
yeah. Agreed. That's human. It's almost like you need a book of chameleons who can adapt, overcome, and get on with everyone. But you're never going to find that, are you? So yeah, a couple of options in everywhere. Um, I love the way actually we referred earlier to the fact that yachting is a small world when we're talking about chartering the yacht, and if it's a badge, yachting is a very small world when it comes to the individuals working within the industry. And I'm sure that your black book is phenomenal for resource and reputation.
Yeah,
And
and that's the other thing. Sometimes if I don't have somebody, I know who
someone who
will
does,
have
yeah,
someone else
yeah,
outside of that,
that's
outside of even
that's it.
my team, and I'll be like, right, I trust that person,
Yes,
and they will tell me who's really good and why they're good. And I say, why do I want that person? Usually I'm kind of asked for two, because we like to give the clients choice. It's their choice at
yes,
the end of the day.
yes, yeah, indeed, yeah. Then they can feel like at least they've made the ultimate choice. You've prepared the best candidates. They've made the ultimate choice. You're doing your job, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Looking at the world today, just watching the news, it is so amazing and dynamic. The things that affect the ultra high net worth individual. So the world seems to be in a real flux and flow. There seems to be people moving and being transient, as we said earlier. Um, how's the world changed in a family office's eyes?
I think people have become like, well, family offices, they've always, the clients always want something now. But I do think people today, overall, even outside the high net worth space, are very immediate. There's a lot of immediate gratification. And actually,
Yes.
that can be a really tough thing to deal with in yachting. Because they
Yeah.
said, these things, you need to invest time in things. And people do pressure you from the other thing. We had a purchase recently and really pressing us to buy it by this certain date. And that's because, I know there are issues on the other side, but in the end, the client said, "Do you know what? Actually, there's a few bits that haven't gone right here, and I don't like it. I'm going to walk away. I've paid for the sea trap, I've paid for all of this, but I don't want it now because you
Mm,
pushed too hard."
yeah.
So yeah, I think there's a lot of immediacy, which can be difficult, and there's a lot of pivoting that goes on as well. I think people don't necessarily commit to their decisions long term like they
y-
used to. And that's
y-
because the world changes so rapidly. So maybe
Yeah.
that's why they are. And then maybe they need to have that flexible strategy as well. It just may not seem like a strategy sometimes.
No, yeah, it's an anti-strategy, isn't it?
Yeah.
If it changes 180 degrees, then how did that happen? Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. And obviously, your role within that changing world, do you kind of, you as the family office, do you try to preempt what the changes are going to be and help with them, or is it just a case of reacting and aiding the client through it?
It's a bit of both. We do very much say we like to be proactive, and I am always a person that will try and anticipate multiple scenarios. So that's probably a bit of the mum scenario bit in me, to be honest. Like, what could happen? What are the dangers in this room?
Yeah.
And let's plan for them.
Good way of looking at it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that. But sometimes you're going to have to be reactive. Something just happens that's unexpected, and you've got to be able to say, well, we're not going with that plan now. We're going to have to switch the 180. I'm going to have to deal with this issue because it's suddenly cropped up. And that's fine too. But also, we try and look at a lot of trends. Again, just in terms of our network, it's very good. As I said, it's a lot of relationship building, and you just chatting to people, maybe not even specifically work that day, but finding out that different nugget. And, we go to different conferences, share ideas, be part of panel sessions ourselves. And within that, you learn. And I remember looking last year at certain trends, and oh my goodness, as I said, Q1 2026, they've completely come through and just accelerated beyond what we thought was going to happen.
That's the kind of flexible, changeable world we live in is is keeping us all on our toes at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah.
Indeed. So just to kind of wrap up really our little chat. Well, obviously we've chatted about JTC as one of the major family offices in the world serving ultra high net worth individuals. The commonality of luxury assets, the commonality of how these wealthy people consider using their money and looking after them during the yacht buying process, the overlap with JTC to the luxury asset to the yachting world. How do you, as obviously it's a really interesting job, very varied. How do you feel about your position and what you do? How much enjoyment do you get from it?
I really like my job, and I'm quite lucky. So, we talk about people, gratitude now and how people should be. And I am grateful I have this job. I must admit, at times, Spencer, it's insane.
Yeah,
It's
I can
just
imagine.
because there's so many new things. And obviously, like in life, everything happens at once. And you think, oh my goodness, how am I going to navigate this? Because this has happened on one thing, this has happened on another. But actually, that's probably the good thing, because every day is different.
It's a new day, yeah, and a learning day, yeah.
It totally is. And I spend a lot of my time doing things that I have never done before. But also probably other people haven't, or I'm going to find a person who knows something about that because this person over here needs them. And that's great because I learn as well. And I don't get bored. That's the other thing. I'm not doing the same thing every single day. I have experience over lots of different things. And I think that really helps because we say the private office at JTC is a holistic service, and it really is. There may be the exact academic answer to this. Quite often there isn't, but actually, is that the best? Because there's all this other criteria that you need to think about. And actually, maybe the middle way is going to work better for that client. But again, it's presenting them the different options. And that way, it's exciting. We do different things every year. Like, as I mentioned, the partnership with SDA Bocconi School of Management, that for me is really exciting at the moment. That's brought a whole new level of thinking and reach as well. Very different clients coming in because of that, which is great. And I get to go to Milan. So, obviously, I'm quite happy.
Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing.
Exactly.
Although I think it's a bit busy there at the moment with the Winter Olympics.
I was thinking it's probably not the time to visit, although it probably is the time to go skiing in lots of other resorts because everybody's gone there to watch it.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
All the other resorts are free.
They're all emptied. It's been lovely talking to you, and I always like to kind of end with the kind of this ethereal question about just about you and your human preferences, if you see what I mean. So if you picture yourself at anchor on your lovely luxury yacht, sat there, and you're going to have lunch, what 3 guests would you invite to enjoy that time with you?
Oh, it's so funny because I think that would change again weekly, like my job. But
Yeah, exactly.
I
My next favourite person.
my next favorite person. I know, actually, that's just changed. Actually, I was just
Yeah,
thinking of someone else I'd quite like to invite. But when
I'm open to invites. Don't worry.
yeah, exactly. I say, can I only have that many? That's the thing. But
Yeah.
then, it's a nicer lunch. Um, I did my dissertation for my master's on Bobby Kennedy. I've
Yep.
always found the Kennedy family fascinating. So I think he's one person. So obviously a lot happened in their family, and I think I'd like
And
to
still
talk
does.
to him. Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's with how was it? Um, being in that family? How was it, with a brother who was president, you wanted to be president? Obviously things with his brother Teddy, but how was it with his dad, who I know was very sort of forceful and forthright? And what was it? What was his mum like? But
Yeah.
what was it really like to be in that family? Not what has everyone written about it. What was it
What was it
actually
like?
like? And for you, it may have been different for your brothers and sisters, but what was it like for you? I
Mm,
think that would have been interesting.
yes.
Another one another person I always find funny and really intelligent, really engaging, Louis Theroux. I mean,
Mm.
he'd make a great guest.
Oh, yeah. His stories must be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, you could just all day. I mean, you have to have
Yeah.
lunch and dinner listening to
Yeah.
Louis, and he'd just be funny, but he'd also be modest at the same time. And that's what I
Mm,
really like about him, is that
yeah.
he's can bring great stories to life and really different ends of the spectrum as well, and yet at the
Yeah.
same time, not be boastful or anything. So I think, and he's just genuinely funny.
Yeah.
And the last person would be a friend of mine, who I know I studied politics with, so she'd like to talk to Bobby, and she's a children's editor, like a publishing editor, and she'd give Louis a run for her money, and that would be my friend Emma Langley. Um, and I'd love to spend time with her again, because my friend died hiking quite a few years ago, and I would just love to talk to her about her life when she was living in New Zealand, and I'd love to see her engaged in that conversation again.
Oh, that's sweet. That's so nice. Great, great, great. Well, that'll be a really interesting chat, and obviously, hope you can make that dream come true somehow. But yeah,
Yeah,
brilliant.
would be nice. They'd be in my dreams.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you very, very much for taking part in this. To the audience, thank you for listening. As you can hear, Victoria is a world of knowledge and an exceptional participant in that part of the world. If I think one of the big questions from clients that I've heard before is, when do I need a family office, or how do I need a family office? And of course, if you want to get in touch with us or Victoria, please do. We can guide you all the way. And the bottom line is the kind of, I think the one thing to underline is the commonality: Browns and JTC, the professionalism, the efficiency, and probably the fun.
Yeah.
Those three things are very common between what we do. So thank you very much, Victoria, for this time. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been great.